As a woman, I look around and see many amazing women in my life who struggle to find partners. They are beautiful and successful, yet I can't explain why they can't find love. Many women feel the same way. Do you look around at your female friends and notice the same thing? Or do you have insights into why this happens? So why? Please remember to be kind in this discussion. Story 1. They mostly approach dating as an if I stumble into someone kind of deal. They are not complaining about it, though. Those who actively want a partner mostly found a relationship that lasted years ago. Story 2. Yes, my best friend is a girl who is super intelligent, with more degrees than a thermometer. However, she will not stay still. People date her only to discover that she has left the country for several weeks. I used to receive calls from people I set her up with, saying she did not show up. Then I would find out she had left the country. I do love her, but honestly, you would have to nail her to a table to complete a date. Story 3. They are not interested in anyone. They just seem to be waiting for a guy, certainly not someone they already know, to come and capture their attention. Story 4. She often complains about being single, but whenever I try to introduce her to attractive male friends with whom she shares common interests, she always finds a reason to reject them. As a result, I stopped trying. Story 5. In my 50s, I have maintained a group of 4 close women friends, and we have been inseparable since grade school. We have supported each other through breakups, divorces, the loss of parents, career upheavals, and, for some of us, the birth of our first children. I also have 3 sisters and a group of about 6 women I have worked with over the years, ranging from 20 years younger to 10 years older than me, who have followed my career through various companies. Additionally, I consider my past serious girlfriends, including one ex-fiancée, who I believed were great women but never found lasting relationships. I have observed why more than 3/4 of these women are single in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and early 60s. 1. Inability to compromise. Compromise is often viewed as losing, and many women refuse to make concessions in their relationships. Meanwhile, men are often willing to accommodate various needs but do not receive the same consideration in return. I've witnessed this pattern repeatedly. It seems the needs of men are not considered equally important in dating, always searching for something better. Many women keep potential suitors at arm's length as friends, thinking there might be someone better around the corner. Men are perceptive and can sense when a woman is truly invested in them or if there is a backup guy involved. Unrealistic expectations. Some women confuse their dreams with reality, leading to unrealistic expectations about lifestyle, wedding budgets, vacations, or special celebrations. Many seem to expect relationships to mirror fairy tales, and when their partners respond in a realistic or typical fashion, it results in disappointment. A man is unlikely to remain committed to a woman he feels he cannot satisfy. The effort doesn't seem worth it. Many women have patterns in how they handle disagreements which men can recognize. Over time, some men may choose to disengage, believing that maintaining the peace requires too much effort. Inappropriate influence from friends. Many women rely heavily on their girlfriends, who often share and gossip under the guise of friendship. These friends can complicate situations that should remain private, leading to an overwhelming amount of opinions on personal matters. Mature men often find this dynamic exhausting and may choose to exit the relationship. Story 6. I wish there were a dating service where you could go out with someone as if it were a date, and then receive a complete and honest evaluation afterward. Story 7. At 35, I know many women who are single. I don't know exactly why, but I can speculate on the reasons. They are divorced or have suffered significant romantic failures and do not wish to repeat the process. They do not take the steps to become the person their ideal partner would consider dating. They are not willing to reciprocate the effort that men put into them, causing men to lose interest. They reduce their dating pool because of the standards they want in a partner, whether physical, financial, emotional, or in other categories. They do not put in the effort to actively seek a partner. I do not think these women are miserable or desperate. If that were the case, I believe they would change their behavior to find a partner. I think they like the idea of having a partner, but they have become so comfortable with their current lives that they are simply unwilling to change. Story 8. I don't see many women helplessly alone. but I see quite a few who have given up. This can manifest directly through statements like, "I'm done with dating," but it often occurs by setting unreasonably high standards or through isolation, making it impossible for an interested person to find them. These behaviors serve as a defense against dating, allowing individuals to fantasize about finding a relationship without the risk of experiencing heartbreak, drama, or disappointment. This situation isn't limited to women. Many men face the same challenges, although they tend to take a less direct approach. Whether male or female, I feel sad for anyone who truly desires a relationship but has set impossible standards or created an isolating life that makes connection difficult. Story 9. I have an acquaintance who consistently chooses inappropriate men who display borderline abusive behavior and tolerates poor treatment. Another acquaintance can easily attract men but then tries to control every aspect of their lives, including how they dress and what they do for fun. In summary, I observe significant personality flaws in these individuals. Story 10. They aim too high or do not offer what the men they pursue are looking for. One of my close female friends cannot maintain anything other than friends with benefits relationships because all of those men are far more attractive than she is. She is also very open about her alleged mental and physical health issues, none of which ever seem to be present when I have seen her over the last decade, but she always complains about something new. These men are not going to commit to anything long-term with a woman who appears to be making her various conditions a part of her personality. It is puzzling that she thinks men will line up for something long-term with someone who acts as if they are about to be physically incapable of doing normal things or who may be difficult due to mental health issues. Story 11. I'm an older guy with no interest in dating. I am happily married and have been for over 25 years, but I have two young adult kids, a 21-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son, so I do give this issue some thought. In general, there seems to be a large aversion to risk and commitment among people under 30, which was not the case when I was their age. While it's important for young people to have standards and expectations for a healthy relationship in life, we often mislead them into thinking that some level of perfection in a long-term relationship is attainable when, of course, it is not. Neither of the people involved in that relationship is perfect. Meanwhile, dating apps allow people to change partners at the slightest sign of trouble or discontent, when the better move might have been to work through the issues. But instead, that reset button is merely a click away. I empathize with this generation that came of age in the social media era. The illusion of infinite options, the expectation of perfection, and the higher stakes of entering a relationship in this era are daunting. When I was dating, I didn't have to worry about being publicly criticized for the slightest misstep, and women didn't have to fear having private pictures leaked. It sounds tough out there. I honestly believe that many people who desire a partner remain single due to a combination of unrealistic expectations and an unwillingness to take risks. Story 12. I can think of a couple who are just unable to compromise, especially with men. They believe it is anti-feminist to give even an inch to a guy. This may be an annoyance in many situations, but it makes any kind of committed relationship with a man impossible. I also know a few others who are highly successful professionals. Although they are truly wonderful people and would be great partners, the men they date often become insecure about it quickly. This significantly narrows the available dating pool. Additionally, there is someone I know who genuinely appears to be happier being single and shows no interest in changing that. Story 13. Beautiful and successful individuals often wonder why they struggle to find love. Many women share similar feelings. To find love, women must be open to it. However, many are too selective to reciprocate interest and maintain a mutual connection reliably. It doesn't matter how amazing someone is. If they cannot bond with another person or feel an attraction to those they connect with, they may miss out on potential relationships. I consider myself somewhat selective, but in a room of 10 people, I would be willing to give 6 of them a chance to see if things might work out. I reserve outright dismissal for women who I find unattractive under any circumstances. This is not my dating strategy. Women often make quick decisions about potential partners very early on. If you engage in this way constantly, you risk exhausting your options and becoming burnt out in the process. Story 14. Quite a few people I know through work are my wife's friends. J46 is my wife's friend. She has never been married and has no children. Years ago, she froze her eggs. A few Christmases ago, I showed her the female delusion calculator as something funny, but also a reality check. For years, she has been waiting for a doctor, lawyer, or someone from Wall Street, since she, my wife, and I all work there. She once dated a finance professional who was good-looking, single, and a few years older than her, making very good money. However, he did not own his home, which led her to believe he was bad with money, and she ended the relationship. We thought she was insane for that decision. Before the finance guy, she dated a medical student but disrespected him so much that he had to seek professional help due to her complaints about their intimate life. He eventually found someone who treated him with respect and left Jay. The older she gets, the more wealthy her partner has to be. She will likely become a cat lady. Jay rates a solid 4 on a scale of 1 to 10 while seeking a partner in the top 1% who makes $400,000 a year or more. M26 works with me, and I have played a small mentorship role in her career. She is from another country and has no family here. So my wife and I invited her to spend Christmas Day with our family and friends, including Jay. She witnessed the female delusion calculator demonstration. M had an even more specific age range. She is looking for someone her age or only 3 years older who earns over $350,000, despite him being in his 20s. I would rate her a solid 2.5 on that scale. She has time to reflect, but even after realizing how unlikely it would be to find such a person, she remains steadfast in her expectations. S47 was my first serious girlfriend. We broke up at the end of high school. She became pregnant a year or two later by a terrible man who continually cheated on her. I caught up with her relatively recently after not speaking for about 25 years. She has never been married and lives at home with her parents. She has some diagnosed issues, having been on medication for many years, and struggles to maintain relationships. B, around 42, got married 3 weeks ago but struggled until then. She openly admits she followed the feminist mantra from college, prioritizing her career and later regretting it. She built a successful career on Wall Street but found that many good men were unavailable when she was finally ready to date in her late 20s and 30s. The men she was interested in had too many options and would not commit. T52 is my wife's sister. She has never married and finds it challenging to maintain healthy relationships due to her paranoia. She once walked a block to her local sushi place to use their restroom for over a month because her toilet was broken, fearing for her safety if she called maintenance. She would have left it that way indefinitely if my wife and I had not visited and prompted her to resolve the issue, which took only 4 minutes to fix with a part that cost $11. At over 50 years old, she continues to receive all her mail at her parents' home because she does not want to disclose her address. Her father passed away during the COVID-19 pandemic, and her mother's health is declining. We have no idea what she will do about her mail when her mother passes. E54 is my wife's other sister. She has been married and divorced. I only met her ex-husband once during an attempt at rekindling their relationship years after the divorce. She is quite spiteful and tends to act as a parent to everyone, telling them how to live their lives and raise their children. She argues with everyone. She has been dating a retired Air Force veteran for many years, a sweet man. I have no idea how he puts up with her, and I hope for his sake that he does not marry her. I am aware of more stories, but I know these women well. Women on Wall Street face challenges, as they may believe that a $500,000 salary is normal and that such men are easily found, thus distorting their perception of reality. I know a married woman whose husband is in good shape, attractive, a great father, earning over $750,000, and who loves her dearly. She is considering leaving him in search of someone better. I've tried to give her a reality check, but she wants to believe she will be the exception. It's a strange world we live in today. Story 15. Most of us fall into the average category, which is typically between 4 and 7. When was the last time one of your female friends mentioned that they are average? Remember, average gets average. Story 16. A close friend of ours is perpetually single. We introduced her to one of my friends once, and his feedback was, "Why did you set me up with that person? She's one of the nicest people I've met, but my wife and I no longer engage in the chaos that is her approach to dating. Story 17. Yes, every single one of them has an extensive list of standards that no one would ever be able to satisfy. Meanwhile, they themselves are fine, but nowhere near as appealing as their standards suggest. Story 18. I notice women often look for reasons to dislike men, not in a misandrist way, but in a way that reflects the term the ick, which seems to be coined and popularized by women. I observe women discussing men who message them on dating apps, and they frequently find reasons to judge them negatively, from the way they phrase things to their choice of shoes. Successful women often have even higher standards, making it difficult for them to find partners. They may reject 99% of men, and the 1% they settle for often turns out to be problematic, having somehow passed all their ick evaluations. I question whether women's intuition is as finely tuned as they believe it is. It's challenging to advise someone to lower their standards, but perhaps they could focus less on perceived flaws and be more open to the positive traits in others. This reminds me of the show Seinfeld, where characters constantly found trivial reasons to end otherwise good relationships. I observe similar behaviors in women regularly. Story 19. Honestly, I don't know. She got hurt by a guy and stayed single to heal. She is a single mother raising her teenagers alone since they were babies. She has worked her way up in her career. She is attractive, exercises regularly, has a sense of humor, and enjoys various hobbies. Yet she never gets approached or asked out. She tried dating apps and gave many men chances, but they either acted foolishly or ghosted her. I sent a friend she didn't know who was on the apps on a date with her to see how she was. He said she was great and even offered to split the check. Right now, she just lives her life quietly. She would love to have someone, but it is taking a toll. The only downside is that men have called her boring for her hobbies, which include gardening, home improvement, reading, walking, and going to the gym, as well as traveling when she can, including day trips. She even participates in activities solo, so she doesn't need to rely on others all day. She recently attended a Major League Baseball game by herself. She refinished her father's old rocker recently, and it looks great. She has been married once and has had 6 partners, but she has never cheated. I sometimes tease her about her low number of partners. Story 20. Yes, I understand why. It may be difficult for you to express because women often see the best in their friends and overlook many flaws, such as being overly positive. However, I believe that for men, it's more straightforward. I have 2 female friends who are single. One is likely to remain single because, even though she is fairly attractive with a fun, easygoing personality, she is also quite immature, becomes anxious when someone shows interest in her, and is mainly attracted to flamboyant men who are likely gay. The closest she has come to a relationship is engaging in conversations with AI companions. While she is enjoyable to be around, no man who knows her would consider her a suitable option. The other friend is wonderful, truly a nice person and very pretty. However, she has specific expectations. A guy must meet certain criteria to gain her interest. Additionally, she prefers to take the lead in their interactions, but he also needs to be wealthy. Essentially, she is seeking a rich man who is willing to dedicate all his time to her, provide financial support, and engage in certain activities where she takes on a dominant role. This significantly narrows her options. Story 21. My wife's best friend has exceptionally high standards, essentially searching for a perfect storybook man who doesn't exist. She rates herself a 6 on her best day but deludes herself into believing she is a 10. Emotionally, she is quite troubled and has no intention of improving herself, blaming all her relationship problems on men. As a result, she is over 40 and has never been engaged or had a boyfriend for more than a couple of years at most. However, she is nice to my wife, and after realizing I wasn't going anywhere, she doesn't bother me too much as someone to simply hang out with. Initially, she was quite pushy when my wife and I started dating, but thankfully, my wife recognizes her behavior and did not listen to her. Story 22. She has poor judgment in relationships and is only attracted to toxic individuals or situations. Additionally, she is not as attractive as she believes she is, and her expectations regarding financial status and height are unrealistic. Story 23. 1. My sister-in-law is gay and hasn't figured it out yet. She grew up with a very religious mother, so I don't think she realizes being gay is an option. Kay makes a significant amount of money, over $500,000, and desires someone who earns more than she does and is attractive. S has an extremely disabled son that requires so much money and time to care for that. When she introduces a man, he often leaves because he doesn't want to deal with that. Mary has very high expectations for someone who is average. D, who is 38 years old and very religious, is a virgin and wants a man who is the same age, a virgin, and good-looking. I've already told her multiple times that this man does not exist. Story 24. All the women I know who are chronically single tend to be high-maintenance individuals who present themselves as superficial and materialistic. I don't think men in their 30s are interested in pursuing relationships under those circumstances. On the other hand, some are very liberal and alternative, yet they consistently express misandry on social media. They go on dates and wonder why they don't receive callbacks after spending most of their initial meetings generalizing negatively about men. They are not open to advice, however. Story 25. I have a friend who is single but does not want a relationship. She has cats at home and is perfectly happy that way. She is not a recluse either. She has a fairly good social life. Story 26. Yes. Some of the women I know who can't find partners usually aren't as good a partner as they think they are. Often their friends have told them, "You're the funny one." But she's not. I have been in many social settings where a girl has tried to tell stories and get to know someone. She talks about Girls Gone Wild and how she almost burst out laughing in the drive-thru because she asked for something random. I can look at the guy's face, and he has this weird, "please get me out of here" expression while she is completely unaware of his reaction, and he just becomes more uninterested. A woman's professional success is rarely interesting to men. In some cases, it's necessary, of course, like for survival, but if you're a lawyer or a chief marketing officer at a big company, it doesn't really have any wow factor for most men. While I don't speak for all men, I can say we don't care. One thing I like to do is sit on the sidelines and watch people. I have noticed that often what women do or pride themselves on as being attractive to men is not what men consider attractive. Many women have their own ideas about what they believe is attractive to men, which their female friends often reaffirm, while men usually have a different opinion. I understand that taste is subjective, but in general, what women think men want isn't necessarily what men want. Story 27. Yes, I have 10 close, intimate friends. 6 of them are women and 4 of them are single. To be honest, they have high standards. None of those 4 women are particularly attractive, yet they are only interested in men who are out of their league. They occasionally have relationships with those men, but as soon as those men find someone better, they are often abandoned. This leads to a cycle of frustration and self-pity. Story 28. I am surrounded by women who are physicians, engineers, and scientists. The single ones share similar reasons for being single. They tend to be disagreeable. Interactions often feel like battles, manifesting in various ways, but they leave little space for others in their lives. Story 29. No. Every woman I know is single for less than a couple of months between relationships, except for one woman I know who is a single mother and does not care about dating. Story 30. Women may be single for various reasons. Some have uninteresting personalities or do not engage in environments where they can meet compatible people. Others struggle with conversation skills, preventing deeper connections. Many are too busy to dedicate time to a relationship, while some have not encountered someone who meets their standards. Deal breakers, such as having children, also play a significant role. For many women, it is not simply a matter of being unable to find a partner, but rather the challenge of finding someone they are genuinely interested in. Story 31. Women today tend to overrate themselves and other women, underrate men, refuse to put effort into appealing to men or building a new relationship, and date men who are unlikely to provide the kind of relationship they desire. Generally speaking, when women claim to see many amazing women who cannot find partners, men often perceive a group of average women who are unwilling to date average men. Story 32. I have 2 friends. One does not surprise me. She is 31 years old with no ambition or career goals, not particularly interesting, not very bright, and often absent-minded. She does not drive, does not cook, is bad with money, and frankly is not very attractive. She is single almost certainly for the above reasons. She has shown my wife and me her dating profiles, and she puts little effort into them, often using awkward, unflattering pictures where she doesn't smile or even look at the camera. The other is a coworker. She is 24 years old, the sweetest person in the world, funny, intelligent, sociable, and working her way through a good career. She is able to hold interesting conversations and is genuinely attractive. I have not seen her dating profiles, but my wife and I are friends with her on social media, and she clearly knows how to take good photos. She is single mainly because she is disillusioned with dating, particularly in our area. We live in a rural part of Idaho, and she is from Southern California. Many of the men she has dated in the past here have been too conservative for her, which is something I can understand as not wanting to compromise on. Story 33. I believe it is because of the factors you mentioned. Generally, a woman dates at her level or slightly above. Women are excelling in education and careers compared to 40 years ago, so the pool of suitable or marriageable men is small. Additionally, there is the effect of dating apps which create the illusion of unlimited options. Most people, particularly women, tend to choose the highly rated items, often ignoring those with slightly lower ratings. Story 34. Over the years, some people are not really looking for a relationship and are too busy with life. Some are very picky with dating profiles that state, "I don't want any time wasters. I want a specific number of children by a certain age, and you better meet these criteria." They often wonder why they only attract men who are interested in a brief encounter and then disappear. Some are too forward. For example, one person remarked, "Yes, Jennifer, the new starter is attractive, but could you please pick up the items you dropped on his desk?" Others are just plain aggressive, stating, "Okay, everyone stand in front of me, and I will pick one of you." This is a true story from a pub where various friend groups were mixing. Story 35. Yes, as you mentioned, they are beautiful and successful, but why don't they have a partner or husband? I have often kept quiet when women discuss these topics, such as struggling to find the one, wanting to get married, or settling down. However, I have noticed that many of them, though not all, were previously married or were so focused on their careers that they seem to have given up on that aspect of life. I do not intend to offend anyone, but this is my observation. Story 36. She knows how to outperform every guy she meets. I set her up with a friend, and he said she was insufferable. When they were ordering food, she opened with, "I am the boss," to the waitress. I actually know the waitress too, and she confirmed this. She said my friend looked trapped the whole evening. I never told her, but she would see it as his problem for not being man enough for her. Who wants that? Story 37. Men do not care about women's success. What men seek in women is completely different from what women seek in men. This is the primary mistake women make when looking for a partner. They imitate traits they find attractive in other men, assuming that men will find those traits appealing. Story 38. Beautiful and successful does not necessarily mean they are enjoyable to be around regularly. Story 39. As far as remarkable women who can't find partners, I have observed the following reasons. They are not willing to put themselves out there and date. It's often not just that they are single, but that they are not going on dates. They may experience minor mental health issues, such as anxiety or non-suicidal depression. There are commitment issues. Just as things start to progress, they get cold feet and end the relationship, often starting to date someone else. They are genuinely afraid to take the plunge with anyone. They are too career-focused, prioritizing their job above all else. The job will never love you back. They have religious or personal beliefs that lead them to date exclusively within certain circles. These are the main observations I have made. Story 40. I have a family member whom I love, but she does herself no favors. She is overweight, has hygiene issues, and sports a hairstyle that doesn't suit her, which makes her look unappealing. Her biggest problem is that she spends too much time with her mother, and assumes her mother's behavior is normal. As a result, she tends to be negative and struggles to make friends or find a partner. I had a friend who was severely overweight, loud, and would frequently snap at people. She had a judgmental attitude towards men who were attracted to larger women. I had another friend who I considered moderately attractive but was a complete mess. Whenever I introduced her to new people, she would either not show up or arrive under the influence of marijuana. It seems she used it to cope with emotional issues that I still don't fully understand. Many guys tried to engage with her, but they often disappeared. Frequently, she would manipulate situations and never admit to changing her mind or that she wasn't interested that day. Instead, she would rewrite history and claim there was never anything between them. This would leave them confused, and then a week later, she would pursue them again. It didn't help that her best friend, who was a lesbian and had feelings for her, actively tried to sabotage her relationships with guys, and she refused to acknowledge the negative influence this friend had on her life. I recognize that this situation sounds dramatic, and I am trying to connect with fewer immature individuals these days. Story 41. She is brilliant but bitter and stubborn. She is upset that she feels underrated by men in favor of less competent women. She is frustrated that her longtime boyfriend drifted away from her, largely because she pressured him to get married, and he got engaged to someone new shortly after their breakup. She is angry that her career success as a research scientist and professor is not appreciated by the men she meets. She has recently given up on dating. I think she has come to realize that she comes off as angry, which will never work to her advantage. She expresses a wish that she were a lesbian. Story 42. One friend in particular is gorgeous and successful, but she struggles with her job and managing her emotions. She is very picky and opinionated about most things, especially food, which can make her challenging to be with on a date if the circumstances aren't right. Despite this, I still wanted to date her, but she placed me in the friend zone, which is probably for the best. Story 43. Others have commented on generalities, so I will talk about two specific cases and see how they relate to those generalities. Woman A is highly educated, a CEO of a nonprofit organization, and frequently meets with state and government-level legislators. She's generally fun to be around, as she is one of my wife's best friends, but from my perspective, the issues are: 1. She is extremely career-focused. Every man who has tried to date her must fit into her schedule without any flexibility. This might work if she finds someone in a similar field with a compatible schedule, but most men looking for a long-term partner do not want to play second fiddle to a career. Her career constitutes at least 85% of her personality. If you're not interested in the details of her career, there's not much left to engage with. She is what I call an ironic feminist. She frequently complains that men do XYZ, yet she engages in the same behavior. Any stereotype you can think of regarding things men should be criticized for, she does while condemning men for those actions. Most men I know do not want to be judged harshly for their actions, especially by someone who behaves in a way she claims to detest. A real-world example. While explaining something to a group who had asked, she interrupted me, repeated the exact same thing I just said, and proceeded to explain my job to me. She became furious when I corrected her and accused me of mansplaining. This may sound harsh, but she is not as physically appealing as she believes. This has led to her being very forward and then easily offended more times than I can count. I think this stems from her friends hyping her up, her youth making it easier to find hookups, and a lack of understanding that she is closer to 40 than 30, and that nature's gifts can change with time. Overall, she is generally pleasant to be around, aside from instances related to point 2, but I can't imagine who would want to date her. Woman B. As I started to outline her characteristics, I realized she is essentially the same as Woman A but somewhat less abrasive, although she is much more competitive in everything. Woman C. She is beautiful, holds a doctorate, is extremely kind and nurturing, but she is completely unable to comprehend that she might be wrong about anything. When faced with opposition, she immediately defaults to her education, believing she must be right. She is one of those people who has achieved an advanced degree through diligence rather than intelligence, placing her around the middle of the IQ scale. If the dissenting party is a woman, she attributes it to jealousy. If it's a man, she blames sexism. My observation is that she has rarely been challenged in her beliefs due to her looks and consequently has not developed the skills necessary for introspection, even on topics she is not knowledgeable about. Additionally, she struggles with accountability. If her car has an issue, she wonders why her boyfriend didn't inform her it needed an oil change. If she says something that prompts laughter due to its silliness or wrongness, she claims that everyone is jealous or sexist. The only people who can effectively challenge her are my wife and me. My wife because she is a subject matter expert in the same field, and me because, for some reason, she does not perceive my dissent as an attack on her as a woman. Broadly speaking, common factors include arrogance, assumptions about the reasons behind disagreements without introspection, unrealistic expectations of what men want in a relationship, and a general belief that if men desire something different than what they find acceptable, the men must be wrong. There is one more point to consider, although her issue is the opposite. She falls in love very quickly and attempts to move in with the guy by the second date. I'm exaggerating slightly. I think her problem is that men worth having prefer to earn affection rather than have it forced upon them. Story 44. Not a man, but I have a few friends in this situation. As their friend, I truly feel they are beautiful and successful. One friend, in particular, is on my mind. I have a really good friend who is incredibly successful, very pretty, and extroverted. She has told me that men have called her flawless. I don't know if that's true, but she has never been in a serious relationship or maintained one. She has had many casual relationships and fallen for men who are not interested in her. It's very difficult to watch. My observation is that she has a very specific type of man she is attracted to, which greatly narrows her opportunities. She claims to be open to other types, but I don't believe that to be the case. She also tends to be drawn to emotionally unavailable men, which suggests she may also be emotionally unavailable herself. She wants nothing more than to settle down and have a family. She deeply desires this and often laments the fact that others around her have partners and she does not. She gets judgmental about it, saying, "I don't understand how so-and-so has a husband, but I don't. I'm perfect." It makes me sad for her. But at the same time, I think she needs to reflect and become more self-aware about the reasons behind her situation. For some people, but definitely not all, I would say the same. Story 45. Have any of your successful friends ever stopped to approach the issue from a man's perspective? No offense, but it seems unlikely. Our standards for commitment are significantly more stringent than our standards for intimacy. Many women I know fail to understand this and are left wondering why it doesn't work. Your success is secondary to us, and for long-term relationships, there are many more factors at play than appearance. Story 46. Many women expect to date men who are willing to sleep with them, believing that if these men are attracted enough to sleep with them, they could also pursue a romantic relationship. This reflects a reluctance to acknowledge certain truths about men. Story 47. I know several individuals. Some had negative relationships and are not interested in getting involved right now. Others are still focusing on their careers, while some simply enjoy being single. Those who are single and wish to change that are often overly selective, unpleasant, neglectful of their appearance, or, in one case, have a voice that is very grating. Story 48. A work acquaintance is traditional and expects men to court her. She does not believe in putting in effort on her part. She is a great woman but is not ready to love someone until she learns to love herself. She is very insecure, emotionally damaged, and lacks personal accountability. Another excuse she uses is that he needs to match her salary, but in reality, she struggles with money. She has been single for 12 years, with short-term relationships in between that did not work out, because each man she dated was labeled as crazy. It is easy to see who the common denominator is. It is draining to sit next to her, so I ended up moving my office to a different floor. Story 49. My closest female friend has briefly explored dating once or twice over the years I've known her. Both times ended with her feeling it added nothing to her life. She is a wonderfully unique mix of highly focused, career-driven, with a keen eye for finances, and a slightly unconventional artsy individual with a taste in music that gives me a headache. My best assumption is that, since I know she is not opposed to having a relationship, She simply has not met anyone who adds value to her life in a way she cannot achieve herself. She is not interested in someone for what she already possesses, and due to her challenging experiences with bullying throughout her childhood, she tends to make quick and firm decisions about who she allows to become close to her. Story 50. Well, men don't really care about a woman's success, so right off the bat, that wouldn't matter. Also, you're looking at them through rose-colored glasses, so who really knows how they actually are? Story 51. Let's not forget that many mature men are opting out of dating for life, so by the time a woman reaches 30 or 40, there are fewer men available to date them. For example, I am 37 and I am no longer interested in dating. Story 52. This is not a mass generalization, but a specific experience I had with a friend. She was pretty chill and laid back, but she exhibited alarming behavior in relationships. She had her own set of traumas from growing up in a broken family and dealing with a toxic father, which likely contributed to her issues in relationships. She would often lash out and scream in public whenever she was upset with her partners, which was frequent. I can't imagine what happened behind closed doors. She accused her ex of sexually assaulting her and spread the word to everyone. But in reality, it never happened, and she later admitted to lying. Her most recent ex believed they ended on good terms, but she went around telling everyone that he physically abused her and cheated on her multiple times. I know the boyfriend well, and I can say with certainty that he never cheated, and the allegation of physical assault seems far-fetched, but who really knows at this point? I don't know if her coping mechanism involves creating lies to play the victim, but it's quite concerning. Initially, I supported her as a friend, but over the years, the guys she dated were confused about where the accusations came from and why she sought out her ex's friends to spread rumors. I've encountered a few of her exes, and they all shared how erratic she was with them. If they even slightly stood their ground, she would manipulate them into thinking they were the problem. So yes, if you knew her simply as a friend, you might wonder why she is single. She is objectively attractive, has a nice and chill personality, and shares interests with many guys, such as gaming and anime. However, another side of her emerges when she is in a relationship, and witnessing how she treats her partners firsthand has led me to distance myself from her. Story 53. Friend 34. She is overly romantic, the type that chases men because it's too much. She spent over $300 on a first date because it happened to be on the guy's birthday. She sent him breakfast, complete with smoothies. Then she called him about 20 times after he dropped her off following their second date because she was tipsy. She even gifted another man a $900 wallet on his birthday after dating him for less than a month. She has a heart of gold and unmatched beauty, but I guess this is a turnoff for men. Another friend, 36, she is an amazing friend but has a toxic partner who attacks men below the belt when she gets angry, making comments about sexual performance and size. Story 54. Yes, I have been urging my friends to directly ask out the guys they like, who have no idea about their feelings because the hints they give are often more subtle and meaningful to women than to men. So far, these suggestions have gone unheeded. Making the first move is an effective strategy for women, and as their friend, it's frustrating to see them disregard it. One friend frequently complains to me about the guys she likes not asking her out. She invites me to hang out with the two of them, and I observe her flirting. From a man's perspective, her efforts to make herself available are often invisible or ineffective. Meanwhile, that guy may end up being approached by another girl who clearly expresses her interest, leaving my friend puzzled about what she is doing wrong. It is a painful situation to witness. Story 55. I am a woman with an avoidance attachment style and have been single for 25 years. I have met some really great guys, but I always find a reason to end things. I dislike this about myself. Now, I have found a guy I am interested in, and after months of dating, I realize he has an avoidance attachment style as well. I see in him what he doesn't see in himself. It feels as though the universe is punishing me. Story 56. One significant thing is that she refuses to settle for disrespectful men. Many of the stories I hear about her dates involve guys who are clearly only looking for physical relationships, have toxic views of what a traditional relationship should be, display anger issues, and show a lack of respect for women. She has tried dating apps, met people in person, attended dedicated dating events, and accepted dates through social media direct messages. She is willing to give men a chance, but it seems that many are generally disrespectful and dismiss their behavior as just how men are. Story 57. I have quite a few single women friends in their 30s. The men they meet are just not good enough for them. I actually sit and listen to these women and wonder why guys behave the way they do. I am talking about men in their 30s and 40s. Most of these men are shooting themselves in the foot. These women know what they want, so they choose to remain single and not compromise on their mental peace, which is valid. Story 58. Usually, they either aren't looking at all or they are keeping their standards too high for what they bring to the table. On the flip side, they often do all the wrong things to try to get attention. They get their nails and hair done or change their look when they have extra weight. The number one thing women can do to get more attention is to be at a normal weight or lower. Story 59. I know several people who download dating apps, use them for a short time, and then get turned off by the erratic messages from some men. They often delete the app because they feel it is not worth it. This happens every few months. Story 60. Beautiful and successful individuals often struggle to find love, but it's difficult to pinpoint why. The first thing to understand is that men do not prioritize job titles. Story 61. Of the ones I can think of, dating isn't really a priority. They have successful careers, a circle of friends and hobbies and interests. They aren't looking for a partner. For others, it's because they have had bad luck in the past and are either recovering or feeling jaded. Some are passively waiting for love to strike. Others lack the confidence to let love strike, getting in their own way as they let doubt undermine them. A man approaches and shows interest, but she doesn't see it because she doesn't believe anyone could be interested in her. Then nothing happens, which bolsters her belief that no one is interested. Some enjoy being single and able to flirt or have casual relationships. Some have no need, some have no want, and some have no choice, and that kind of sums it all up. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.